Welcome to the next video where I read a chapter of The Curse is Cute, a chicken nugget transformation saga. This chapter is called Soups On. Just as a warning, it contains transformation, female to male TG, MC/identity debt, age progression, and more stuff. Let's just say that if you're not into any of those, you won't like this video. This story was originally made by Narwhal Ball, and it has 2,040 words. So let's get into it. October 20th. Olympia Paris hadn't heard her real name spoken aloud in a year. Over a year. Not even by herself. Not because she didn't know it. Not because she hated it. And no, not because Ollie was hiding from the FBI, though she would have been spiced, though that would have been spicy. Just because it didn't matter here. Not in the confines of the studio apartment where the lights buzzed, the AC wheezed, and the microphone doubled as her bedside table. Here, she wasn't Olympia. She was P-Brain Zone. Yes, that's the username Ollie went with. Look, you don't get to pick your branding epiphanies at 3 a.m. after instant ramen. Her world was a shoebox in the bowels of Gribbleton, Texas. Low ceilinged, beige carpeted, always just a few degrees too humid. A world often frayed changing chords, discarded sticky notes, unopened letters from the city, and half-sipped mugs of tea or coffee or soup. It was always soup. The futon mattress sagged in the center like a wounded lung. A trio of aging plushies guarded the windowsill. The ring of light stood bent on its bent tripod like a weary sentinel, always watching. The pop filter on her mic was covered in cat hair, and she didn't have a cat. We in the Lemony narrator department have questions about this, but we'll save them for the post-mortem. There were no mirrors in the apartment. She'd taken them all down by month three. Not because she was dysphoric, not because she hated her face, just because the reflection made her feel wrong. Too much. Or not enough. Not for her, just because every time Ollie saw a reflection, she had the distinct urge to control Z. She didn't know anymore. Most days she felt like input, a stream of data trying to wear the shape of a person. Gender had become a language she no longer tried to speak. Voice, though? Voice was still hers. When she pressed her lips to the mic and whispered into the void, it felt real, warm, grounded. I tell her. She curled her fingers around the mic the way someone else might hold a candle in a storm. She was 23 at least. That's what she said offline. Offline, age felt slippery. Sometimes she felt ancient. Sometimes she felt she hadn't started yet. Not because Ollie was dysphoric, but because her reflection felt like a badly dubbed movie of herself. You know, the one off by a frame and slightly uncanny. She hadn't left the apartment in 4 days. The last time she tried, a neighbor glared at her like she'd stepped outside wearing meat. The package locker is covered in cobwebs. She stopped trying to explain herself. Stopped trying to explain anything. It was either that or talk to the landlord. Ollie made the right call. But online she was a voice. A theory builder. A curator. A digital folklorist. A podcast host with over 9,000 subscribers. And a niche fandom of cartoon cultists and ARG nerds who adored her ability to spin nightmares out of nostalgia. She could monologue for 20 minutes on cursed cereal mascots, or how mall animatronics degraded to religious symbols when left too long in silence. Oh god, this is like MapPad here. She catalogued found footage, ARGs, traced VHS leaks, and posted elaborate flowcharts on obscure YouTube rabbit holes. It was easier than talking to her landlord. Easier than being seen. That night? On Wednesday? Maybe Thursday. She was recording episode 211 of the P-cast. Her voice was hoarse, and she hadn't eaten anything solid since Tuesday. But she was in it now. Breath warm on mic, laptop fan humming. Tonight, she whispered, we're gonna talk about Midwestern mascots. Those hollow fiberglass smiles grinning from the weeds off of I-84. Yeah, them. Who made them? Why do some of them blink? And more importantly, bing! Her email chimed. She blinked. Mid-sentence. Paused. Then frowned. It was 3:42 a.m., which is the hour of either divine inspiration or catastrophic life choices. No one emailed her at 3:42 a.m. anymore. Not even the spam bots. The recording flickered like in the corner of the screen. Forgotten. She minimized Audacity. One message. No subject preview. She clicked. From BZ. Subject. Soup's on. Oh, credits. You've been watching too long. Time to be seen. Attached. Loadp.exe. Her pulse quickened. Not from fear. Not yet. But recognition. Like a weight to it. Like a name you'd only hear in dreams. The file icon. A pale green ball pulsed faintly. Like a heartbeat. She hesitated. Only for a second, then clicked. Reader, if you're hoping Ollie wouldn't, you've clearly never seen a horror story unfold on a laptop at 3:42 a.m. They always click. The screen stuttered, flickered once, then everything went black. The monitor hissed, then flooded green. A choking, unnatural pea green glow burst across the desk, washing over her skin, making her eyes water. It wasn't a color she'd ever seen on a screen before. Too wet, too organic. It reminded her of hospital lighting, a mold of old food, of vegetables she left in the microwave too long and still steaming. Her face twisted. She tried to pull back, but the monitor pulled. The speakers crackled. Then, a warped, lo-fi, mid-MIDI version of her podcast began to play, but wrong. The notes sagged, slurred, like they were melting. The tune she made in GarageBand in 2019 twisted in on itself, dragging through white noise and static. Like an AM radio lost in a storm. Then symbols appeared. Not letters, not numbers, just concept, burned into the screen like retinal after images. A grinning puppet with too many joints. A steaming bowl of something just off-center. A cellular door with no handle. Eyes, plural, stacked vertically. Each image hit like a memory, but not her memory. They entered like pins. And then the whispering started. You know, normal things. Oh, pea soup's on. Oh, pea soup's on. Oh, pea soup's on. We will. Oh, pea soup's on. I had that last bit myself. Her name. Not her name, not Olympia, but something older. Something deeper. Old P. Her cursor froze. The trackpad beneath her fingers felt soft, gummy, alive. Her stomach turned. Then the smell hit. Hot, vegetal, oppressive, like a sealed pot of steamed broccoli left to rot. Her tongue tingled, metallic at first, then salty, then sweet, as if hot pea soup had been ladled straight into her throat. She gagged. When it spat into her chipped mug, the liquid was thick, vicious green. Not bile, not water, broth. Yuck! Her breath hitched, then caught entirely as a sharp heat erupted under her skin. It started as a rash, faint itching that clearly became unbearable. Her freckles dissolved, wiped away as her pores widened, merging into sick, waxy patches. Her cheeks glistening faintly, unnatural pea-green tones taking over her black skin, spreading over her jaw, her neck, over her shoulders, down her arms. The color deepened, crawling like vines, soaking through her chest, her stomach, her back. The skin on her arms loosened, like wrinkles folding and creasing as she was suddenly decades older. We are officially beyond moisturizer territory. She whimpered as her ribcage cinched tighter. The pressure around her chest squeezed until she gasped, the bones snapping inward one by one as her lungs hissed like a kettle. Each breath felt wrong, hotter, thicker, her lungs straining against the heavy vegetal air now filling the room. Her hoodie began to sag around her as her shoulders collapsed inwards, elbows cracking and twisting, her arms plumping into soft, knobby lips. She raised her hands in front of her, fingers bloating and merging until nothing remained but smooth, green pads. No nails, no knuckles. She whimpered, then choked as the sun pressure ballooned at the back of her skull. Her scalp burned. The folds of the crown of her head softened, plates grinding together before bulging outward. Her whole head rounding grotesquely into a huge comical sphere. Imagine your head turning into a novelty stress ball, but it's you. Her health fell away in brittle clumps, slithering off the waxy skin now covering her skull. OMG, it's Tyler 1! Her ears retracted into the size of her head. Her nose flattened, reduced to two small dark nostrils. A seam of darker green rings rippled across her cheeks in concentric circles. 3 rings, each groove pulsing faintly with every heartbeat, marking her arrival. Her glasses pinched her swollen face before snapping in half. But the frames hovered, reforming into perfect black circles, floating as if by habit. So they're levitating eyewear now, sure. The whisper deepened. Hold peace, Susan. She felt her throat seize as her larynx burnt, vocal cords fraying and knitting lower. Her next breath came out as raspy as an old man. Her knees gave way as her legs shrieked, bones grinding as they compressed. Her shins bowed, her feet splitting out of her socks as they compacted into squat, stubby little pads. She fell forward onto the floor, her entire body curling into new proportions. Her breasts shrank, becoming flat on her chest. A strange heat pulsed at Olympia's crotch, tightening until her breath hitched. The sensation twisted, reshaping her anatomy into a cloaca, simple, hidden, more amphibian than human. She didn't need to see it to know the change was complete. The soft fabric of her hoodie unraveling itself into a crisp, white button-down stitch against her chest. Candy pink straps sprouted from her hips and chest, weaving into overalls fastened with a single button that gleamed black. A tiny loading icon pulsing once, twice, then still. Her body flattened. Black outlines drew themselves around her frame, sealing her into a soft, simplified, 2D form. And inside his mind, or at what had once been her mind, something settled, something rearranged. It began not with forgetting, but reshelving. Thoughts once sharp with anxiety softened at the edges, like pages worn smooth by touch. Old patterns, the self-loading spirals, the need to explain, to justify, to vanish, were gently filed under categories labeled as past tense and no longer applicable. Names in Olivia flickered like an old screensaver, but dimming entirely. Preserved somewhere, but no longer in control. The kind that makes Twitch chat collectively lose its mind. New memories clicked into place with a strange but natural rhythm. Not overriding, but overlaying, like an old VHS tape reused. The static of Olympia's solitude faded beneath clearer, warmer broadcast. He remembered lakeside summers in mismatched overalls, remembering laughing at dumb jokes with Milkshake, remembered streaming late into the night, his voice a lantern in the dark for millions of fans. He remembered being loved, wanted, recognized. He remembered slushy face when Milkshake introduced him. This is Old P, my boyfriend. It nestled inside him like a secret seed finally sprouting. If you never had someone that happy to meet you, it's criminal. And with it came a profound shift in purpose. He no longer had to feel invisible to be safe. He didn't want to hide behind data, metaphors, or avatars. The screen wasn't a mask anymore. It was a doorway. It was a scattered voice over tiny headphones. He was Old P. He blinked, then smiled. His voice steady, warm, now rolled out of him effortlessly. Hey guy, sprout legs, old beers here. Soup's on. Screen folded in on itself, golden green light coiling in toward the center. Cartoon stars spinning past the hiss of vinyl, a smell of hurt after rain rising into the air. Old P, no longer Olympia, laughed softly, tucking his stubby hands behind his back as the light lifted him up out of the room entirely. Somewhere in the Chicken Nugget universe, Slushy's phone buzzed. A new stream notification. Soup's on! Live now! The chat exploded. Soup's on! Soup's on! Clapping emoji, clapping emoji, clapping emoji. Sonny Pop squealed, balanced the light, shouting the catchphrase along with everyone else. I'll pay Soup's on! In the back of that little Texas apartment, the faint smell of peas and soft glow of a monitor lingered. Chair sat empty, the mic still swung lightly on its stand, like a pendulum. And with that, that's the story. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'll make the next one when I can. Until next time, goodbye.